Welcome back to Be Creative Stamping and my Spooky Night Suite reveal. Today I'm going to share with you how to make these adorable little post-it note holders. They open up, they've got a little post-it note inside, and it has a cute little Halloween mini gel pen. We're going to create this post-it note holder here. And I want to start with the cardstock so I can show you how to cut and score it correctly. I'm using a standard sheet of cardstock. It's 8.5 inches by 11 inches. And I actually want the 8.5 inch side against the guide on the Stampin' Trimmer. And so the first thing we're going to do is score. And so we do have some tricky measurements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a bit so that you can see those measurements. We're going to start with the first score line and it's 2 3/4 inches. So I'm going over here to 2 3/4 inches. This blade right here is my cutting blade. And this blade, the lighter color, is my scoring blade. Okay, so I'm going to use the scoring blade here. I may be zoomed in just a little too much, so let me back out a little bit. Okay, so now we're ready to score at 2 3/4. So I'll give that a nice score line. And then we're going to move over to 3 1/8. So here's 3, and 3 1/8 is right here. And then we're going to score again. And then we're going to move to 6 5/8. And this can be a tricky one. This is 6 1/4. This is 6 1/2. And this is 6 3/4. So the measurement 6 5/8 is kind of right there. Okay. This would be 6 5/8. That's 6 3/4. And so I'm going to score again. And now I'm moving on to 7 1/16. I know, I'm sorry for the crazy measurements. Here's 7. This is 7 1/16. And I'm going to score again, okay? All right, so now I'm actually going to rotate my paper just one time. And I want to cut my cardstock at 3 1/8 inches. So I'm moving over here. Here's 3. Let me move down a little bit. And then this is 3 1/8. And so this is where I want to cut. And let's see how many of these we can get out of one sheet of cardstock. It's actually going to be 3. So you'll get 3 post-it note holders out of one sheet of cardstock. And this is the leftover cardstock here, so you could just use that for scraps. Okay, you're going to want to take a piece of designer paper. I'm using the Spooky Night designer paper. And you're going to need to cut this at 3 1/8 inches by 2 3/4 inches, okay? And that will fit right on this big piece right here. So this is what your post-it note holder looks like. And now we're going to add the designer paper. So I'll do that real quick. All right. And we're going to add it right along here. Whoops. There we go. Okay. And then at this point, you can go ahead and fold all of your score lines. Okay. Now we're ready for the post-it notes. And I've already taken the time to put tear and tape on the back of the post-it note. Okay. And I'm going to use my paper snips, and I'm going to lift this covering off of the tear and tape. Whoops. There we go. So this takes a little practice, but once you get it, it is an awesome way to peel off the paper. Okay. All right, now be sure to note the top and the bottom of your post-it note, okay? You certainly don't want to put it in upside down, all right? So this is the bottom, And so this is the bottom of my holder that I've created. And I am going to put the Post-it note holder in here right on this score line, okay? And then I'm just kind of centering it inside the pad. All right, so let me just zoom in a little bit. Remember these two score lines, and this is where you want the Post-it holder, right here at the bottom, okay? And so our next thing to do, and this is the fun part, it's to embellish. We're now ready to do some stamping, and I am going to use one of the stamps from the Spooky Cat stamp set. I want to make sure I get it inked up really well. You can use your basic black archival ink, or you can use the black memento. Okay, so either one. And now you're going to need the pumpkin pie ink, and we're going to stamp Trick or Treat. And we're going to do that right in the middle. I got a ton of ink on my block. Sorry about that. All right, and so now we're ready to punch it out. And we're using the Everyday Label Punch. If you haven't seen my video on YouTube about the Everyday Label Punch, you'll want to check that out. It's 10 great reasons why you need this punch. All right, so now I am going to punch this out. So I want to get it centered. All right, and whoops. All right, I'm trying to center these little dots with this area right here. Okay. All right, so I've punched that out. And while I'm punching, I'm going to need another one of these shapes in pumpkin pie. Okay. All right. Now, before we get ready to close this, we're going to add a Velcro dot, okay? And I am using the 5/8 of an inch Velcro dot to close the note holder, all right? And you need a fuzzy one, and then you kind of need one of the other one, the opposite one. And I'm going to put these two together. And then I am going to peel that off and this off. So they're two here together. And I am going to add it right here in the center of the Post-it note, okay? And now we're going to add one of our little pins. These little Halloween pins came from Michael's, okay? And they're in the Halloween section. So we're going to use one of these. And we're going to add it now so that we know how far to close the Post-it note holder. All right, I'm putting this right here on top. And then what I want to do is I want to close this, but I want to be sure that this is even. I don't want to push this over or not push it in enough. And so I want to be sure that this is parallel to this Post-it note, and the pin kind of helps you use that as a guide, okay? All right, and so there we go. That's all done for us. And we're going to just use some snail to add this little guy right here, and that's probably about in the middle. All right, and now we're going to actually pop up the little Trick or Treat. So I need to just grab the dimensionals for that, and I'll go ahead and add another one and another one. All right, I probably don't need this many, but it makes it fun. And it helps it from not, getting smashed. All right, and then we're going to add this about right here in the center. Okay. Now we're going to add some of our black jewels, and I'm going to use the large ones for right here on the outside. You'll put that on your pumpkin pie cardstock. There we go. And then I'm going to use smaller ones for the ends. Okay, I need one more of those. And practice picking them up with your paper snips. Once you get the hang of it, it really makes it go a little bit faster. Okay, please head on over to my blog. If you look under the YouTube video, I'll have a description of this project. and it'll be a link to this specific blog post. Head on over there and pick up an inspiration sheet. Thanks so much for buzzing by.